continue this conversation as I promised about the Stepford Wives movie, right? Because I certainly didn't get a chance to give you a full breadth of information about it. So the most glaring thing about it, which is probably why the movie didn't go so well, is that the protagonists never were demonstrated to have a proper redemption arc. Um, they went from the moral character crisis of a chick who caused who created a toxic television program that ruined a person's life for the sake of selling a certain new gender role identity, right? Because it's the subtext of that the Stepford Wives are the rebellious answer to the executive boss bitch, right? Because you would see with the early 2000s and people of the age group presented that you are looking at people that are trying out all these role reversals, right? Role changes in society is a big part of it. There's a comment that's made in the film that you women, while you women were fighting so hard to be men, we men decided to become gods, right? So, you know, the invention of this brain chip augmentation and remote control for men's wives was this god thing, right? And all of it is a farce because Mike is a golem. He is an automaton, if you will, right? Created by the woman who wants all the women to be like this and wants all the men to be the way that they are, which is to do the work to create the world for you. And that's the only quality that they need, and they will stay the perfect thing and all that stuff. And there's it doesn't get into more depth as a story because like then the moral arc situation is it pretty much abandons it for her. What's up, the king? Just letting you know, we're probably going to be at odds. I am also a king, and only kings and queens listen to this show. But anyway, and so you get so the moral kind of compass on the show is really just kind of focused on young successful couples relationship issues as the moral crisis. And there is no moral crisis, right? The story abandons this, right? And therefore this is so the movie is obviously not going to be successful for this reason. What is good and actually appreciable about this film is that it's not bothering to show you something that you've seen all this time. It's showing you a film for a certain kind of person, right? It spends a lot of time making certain criticisms of the executive boss bitch because it's part of the enemy's rationale, which also is the pitch for men. And that pitch ultimately comes from nobody in this world seems to be capable of talking to women at all. Including Matthew Broderick's, including this main guy is like the good guy. I mean, like they talk to each other, and he's always like the good guy with her. Um, but it's so just like what the movie is, which is just about kind of like relationship issues. But of course, it's talking about society as a whole. Like it is getting something right about like the actual thinking through the actual implications by looking at it from the outside. You people, I wish you knew about my irk with the word bless. I can't blame you. I only have a few people in here and looking for new people. So I can't be all like Thunder Wizard and lambast everybody all the time. Right? It's just like, it's not the biggest deal. But I'm not even really making a deal of it, other than I enjoy the opportunity of attacking the word bless and making you understand that that word is kind of a little curse. All right, the king. I want to let you know right now, no solicitation of any deity's supremacy of the heart. Do you understand? We're not doing deity supremacy on this channel, okay? I don't supremacize Odin on people. Please don't supremacize your child trafficking pedophiles on mine. Just to be clear. Especially because the god Jesus and the god Odin, I don't acknowledge Jesus as anything more than an egregore from a book. So, I want you to understand that right now. I speak blasphemy proudly in the Christian world. But anyway, that being said, now this person who speaks blasphemy to Christians is going to tell you all about being a good person. Anyway, Stepford Wives. And more. See how I'm talking about morality? See, like if I were to like start talking about Jesus, just the context just ruins it all. Because then it presupposes that only Christian values are like this, which is happy horse shit. Because Christian values are a complete amalgam of cultural appropriations and just trying to fucking keep people's traditions and then remove their idolatries in the eyes of their God. And it's ridiculous, right? And there's the Christian programming in the program that's put into the Stepford Wives also. It's like Darien today still doesn't have a whole lot of Jews in it. It's all like Christians of posture. It's a place of Christian posture in Darien, Connecticut. Right? All of the superficialities of those who would naively say, I am a good person. Right? Nobody told this chick when they fired her to start the movie that she's a horrible person, right? The shareholders want ideas like that. They were very happy and enthusiastic. There was no question, all the cheering in the audience, loving that, loving the result, and then the guy who they're cheering his failure about, right? Like these women don't care about him at all, right? He may be struggling as a man in several respects, but keeps his shit together and and was a loyal, loving husband who had, you know, all he ever could ask for in a wife. And like, women have, we've experienced women that are like that, have gone through that, right? And so, um, there is no talking about, there was no challenge to her values. There was just simply no place for her anymore anywhere, and she didn't know who she was as a woman anymore, right? This takes women who, it's about exploiting women who fail at success so hard that they can't fucking handle it, and then they turn into a goddamn housewife. I'm a kid. I can't hear bad words. Well, listen, if you're going to have the mind of a child, whether that be true or not, I don't make my live streams for adults, which is very, very clear. So right now, I need to warn you that this channel talks about terrible, dark, taboo things on a whim, on my personal fucking whim. I don't fucking script very well outside of reading a fucking thing. Well, finding whole, listen, it could be a kid who's homeschooling. And guess what? Homeschooling, your hours and your values are set by your parent or guardian. Oh, none of the beeswax. He gives a good answer. I like this answer. See, there you go. Okay, so, well, everybody gets a free period in class. Women once a month. But anyway, so these women, they don't know, what to do themselves at all, and especially if they have children and everything else. So, like, the premise of the movie makes great sense. You unfortunately have to fucking sit there and have the fucking moral conversation that the film, in many awkward ways, refuses to have, right? It deliberately tries to take out. I wouldn't be shocked if there's a longer version of this film, because I find it hard to believe that they didn't have any more substance, considering all of the minor little things going on in there. There was discussion about military contracts, Microsoft references, like you're talking about Microsoft and Apple kind of nerd types. You know, these people that are attempting to rule the world as the technocrats, and they're showing you the technocratic paradise, but it's only a paradise for those that play within the program. And at the end of the day, you're just going to be on the program. Doesn't matter if you're going to actively fully participate with it, and that doesn't matter because it's making a supposition that women don't change as a man about a certain aspect of a thing that may be a truth, that may be something that spawns from not knowing what you're looking for in a man, right? And so you've got a woman of certain looks and treats you a certain way and has great sex, and a handful of other perks but you never really establish how much you just uh, can truly get into the depths of each other, right? And this movie doesn't go into the exploration of a couple getting into the depths of each other. Um, it implies that that's what happens by the end of the film, because by the end of the film, the main characters have their happily ever after. Um, they don't get in trouble for anything, because Kidman's husband gets persuaded to join the men's club, and thus being in to and onto the Stepford wiving process. But he didn't fully realize the process is basically what, like, they basically waited until the film reveals to everybody the secret, like, movie that was being, is like a little promo commercial that explains to guys how they make your wife into a Stepford uniform, right? And it talks about all the brain surgery going on involved with it, this whole process. And you think that Mike's in charge still at this point, right? And so he gets into it, and then he doesn't follow through with it. Like, he wants her to fucking do it, but then he sees this animation thing explaining the process, and then he has like a little heart to heart about, and all this stuff is just about the meaning of relationship with each other on a level one kind of way, right? Like, this film doesn't get much past level one like this, right? The film's a juxtaposition of very, very, very simple storytelling, trying to jam a bunch of conspiracy truths as in trending, without getting deep enough into true names, but making the names of the social commentary, right? And so the movie sits in this weird. I don't really understand why this movie kind of got buried, right? Because it definitely is like a it's only worth your fucking time if you've got a fucking real reason to get into this conceptually, right? And because after I watched it, I had to watch it because I've been telling you guys I've lived around the culture for which the reason they chose to shoot the movie in is about, to get, the exact landscape or whatever. Connecticut was delighted to have the money from a film being made there. Connecticut had recently passed laws for Hollywood and television to fucking make more shit in Connecticut, which they did a handful of fucking things, nothing goddamn fucking impressive at all. But then again, there's not a lot of impressive things to shoot in Connecticut. I think the biggest film that had a scene in Connecticut was the fourth Indiana Jones film. All the scenes shot outside in New Haven, Yale, New Haven area. That was all shot on location in Yale, New Haven, and then they took a handful of streets and buttered them up to look like it was the 1950s. Anyway. Am I Sigma? Maybe. I think Sigma means a lone wolf. I'm kind of a lone wolf. But then again, I might just be an irate non-alpha. I could just be that. Or I'm just trying to be a wiser member of the order of my pack. Thank you for asking me that reflective question. Unless you were trying to fucking imply some sort of insult. Like if you ask me if I was a beta, like that, like people say beta cuck all the time, so can take that the wrong way. I don't know. It's stupid. It's just like people say the pack order is like men's astrology. Yeah. I mean, when it comes to a certain social order thing, and you know what? Like, I'm just not into it. And maybe that's a little bit of a problem. I mean, like, I'm into it in a sense, and especially because I care. Like, Norse mythology talks about Heimdall. Heimdall allegedly is the god of doing this, of saying you're a jarl, you're a carl, and you're a thrall. You're a leader. You're you're a part. You're a valued part of the kingdom, and you are a worker. Right. That's really what it is. Right. I think that and I think that somebody decided, if I'm going to have workers, I want them to be outsiders that I have captured to hold against their will. Those who are weak, because weak people deserve to be like, because, you know, we hadn't grown, like, we had lost something in, I don't know, we've lost something in morality in a certain sense, right? I do not like a romanticization of the complete rationalization of, quote, slavery, even by classical Greek standards. And that's mostly because we don't have a clear, objectively cited perspective of what it was like for these types. Queen, Alpha, Lone Wolf, Pearl. Hey, Pearl. So, of course, there's also the transhumanism aspect. I mean, Stepford Wives falls, like, this movie predates World's End, which was the British duo, Simon Pegg and the other guy, I think, right? It was one of their last movies, like, big movies they did together, which was a big budget. It was a very, like, Doctor Who kind of style story, which I really fucking loved. And everybody was a robot of sorts that was created by this alien intelligence that was assimilating the town into kind of like the British sensibilities version of the Stepford Wives, except it wasn't like, it wasn't going, it was making, it made much, it's incredibly well, I love that fucking movie. The speech at the end of that movie to the fucking entity is fucking brilliant. This is the way the way he talks to that fucking thing, that's the way you talk to the fucking archons, right? Malevolent archons, right? Like, and that's when you get an understanding of what different orders of things that are in charge of what mean, and what gets determinatively an archon, and when is an archon good, bad, or what. I don't know. I'm supposed to be an anarchist. I guess that means I have to be against the archons in the ether, but I am against the archons in the ether. But then again, I'm wondering if the archons are just they're all just positions that can be replaced with a benevolent intelligence. Like Thoth. Thoth the Atlantean stole the position of the office of fucking Tahuti from Osiris, for instance. So if Tahuti is great when Osiris sits upon thy throne, then why not, right? And I think that's also a point. It's just like, the gods are the gods, the archons are the archons. And so maybe you just gotta replace whatever with a god. And you have to know what a god is, and you got to know what that god is a part of, right? You're not a pagan if you're worshiping a pre-Christian god that isn't a pagan god. Not, it wasn't all paganism. It was all different religions, for sure, right? And that's why life didn't look anything like it does today with these, like, fucking monocultures. Right? From city to city, things were different because there were many, 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 many different sects that were collective. You know? We had a very crude form of media at that time, which had to involve fucking people that were paid to go out across the kingdom and talk about what the fuck's going on in the castle. Hear ye news from Castle Keep and the King of Crom. Yada yada yada. This is and then eventually the Medes come into play, and Medea is a goddess coming out of the Medes family, and then she becomes the goddess of all sorts of stuff that collectively coincide as your understanding of the zeitgeist of the thoughts on people's minds. And we subsequated that to what we saw on television or from our favorite fucking podcaster in recent, in the recent century. What's my definition of someone being weak? Someone being weak is someone who has no willpower or no endurance. They give up too easily, or they make excuses too long about getting started. And then that projects and it manifests in the body, in the auric field, in your emotional energy signature, your tone, your disposition, your posture. It epigenetically kills you. Because we threw something about our basic living needs and we threw it terribly out of fucking balance and then put ourselves a million miles away from the solutions to any of these problems. And that's weakness. That's weakness. And I don't know why people do it. Because I'm looking at the profile of those whom I talk to them, and they have a mind and where their mind's at in relation to where their life is at. And before I make assumptions, I hope to be able to ask questions that get honest answers. Because if there's someone that I'm talking to, I would hope that I'm clear with them, right? And this is my point. This level of communicating with people is not addressed in the film. The film in and of itself doesn't have the ability to go there. It's like the film was trying not to be too fucking deep. Probably because they were afraid it was going to tip the apple cart too much. And I think the other thing is that the film left the issue so heavily struck upon the entire course of the story that it was too realistic to what we have in what was this era of these crazy fucking Karen supremacists. You know, these fucking evil fucking boss bitch types fucking trying to make men do the most psycho of fucking things to all sorts of different kinds of people. Remember that fucking psychopath that fucking drop kicked a fucking pregnant woman in a protest? I guarantee you there's some fucking woman that fucking treated him right for doing that shit. Right? There's somebody on some fucking level that nasty. Right? He got revved up to fucking do that by someone. I made a wrong turn at Albuquerque. Alright, I gotta turn around. So basically, most all society. Absolutely. That's absolutely. And they're okay with it. It's upsetting. And then what happens is that when you're not that, when you're doing what I'm doing, it ends up pissing you off when other people around you don't even try the smallest little thing. You know, they're in front of you, you hear them talking about their life and their setbacks and all that stuff, and the polite thing to do is to fucking throw them a goddamn pity party right the fuck there. And I think that's the most insulting thing one can do, is fucking pity people because you care about them. You know, if there's literally nothing left and no time left for nothing, then yeah. But when you've got, for sure, many days ahead, you have the choice to make things better, because it's better for everyone around you who is too fucking polite to say otherwise. And especially if we don't fucking believe in miracles. You don't believe that you have the fucking power, that you can't find the power because you don't have it now, and you don't want to go look for it, even though you're surrounded by fucking storytellers who are telling you the power is findable. So instead, we crash, we burn, we have a psychotic break, and we redefine our fucking selves and live by that fucking program, and that's the Stepford Wives. And they will find a fucking archetype of a fucking woman and force you right the fuck into it. For whatever fucking reason. And that shit will happen whether it's a good man or a fucking bad man. It's just some fucking deep, primordial trend. I don't think I'm above it. No! Everybody is polite and dishonest. Everybody is polite and dishonest. They're all polite. It's politics. This is politics. Why do you think it's called politic? Polite-ick. It is decorum by which we treat ourselves. Right? Stepford Wives is programming for the new, the new semi-conservative Democrat is the idea, right? Darien, Greenwich. Well, Greenwich is more Republican, I suppose, but a little bit more Democrat now, I think. But Darien is pretty much like Democrat, but it's all very freaking neocon, neoliberal, right? And those two are very polite to each other. They don't fight about anything at all except at the ballot box. It's all good posturing of whatever kind. And there's lots of people that are fucking like hippie types in there coming in, you know, they run around town with their fucking Grateful Dead shirts and whatever. Is like, got hippies and yuppies living side by side. Hey, what's up? But yeah, no. And the only reason why someone like me isn't polite is because when I was trying my best to be a good kid when I was a kid, being brought up in the system a certain way and having a certain fucking incarnation archetype, something about the all the stars were lined up for me to be a fucking problem for not just family standards, but for the New World Order as a fucking whole. Because if you told 10-year-old me what 44-year-old me did on the fucking internet, I first off would have said, what the fuck's the internet? Because it would have been 1990. Oh my god. Right? And then, at some point, this motherfucker got Roger Stone, this motherfucker's talked to a couple of fucking rock stars. I've talked to the writer of the fucking Matrix. I have done some serious shit. That wasn't just fucking having a fun conversation. That was great for me and so widely fucking great for everybody to watch. No, it was fucking like me and Tom Althouse fucking talked about tearing down monsters in Hollywood. Like asking fucking probing questions that will help fucking somebody with an investigation for a crime that one of these fucking motherfuckers did. They need to know and hear what kind of connections to look for and expect. Right? This is, you know, that podcast was about fighting evil through consciousness. That's why I like what the Occult Rejects is doing. That's why I like what Owen Benjamin is doing. You know, that's why I like people that I invite on my show are fucking doing. And that's a great thing. That's a fucking cool ass fucking thing. I overall know that I very thoughtfully, consciously made so many fucking decisions. Whether they're good or bad decisions, I really fucking thought hard about a lot of them, most of them. I don't really have actual regrets. I just know what was painful to find out. I would have rather chosen differently if I had a little bit better knowledge. Or anything to that. RC Modified 705. Hey, how's it going? All right, I got to get back to work. But yeah, no, I think I've said everything I really needed to say about the Stepford Wives film, right? Like all these tropes, that the shadow of truth in it, the missing context that screams blatantly for people that are trying to put it together and look for this missing context in ways that I doubt were fucking preserved by anybody who fucking made the film. You know? I mean, that John Lovitz in it, right? Who needs to preserve film reels from John Lovitz? All right, I'll see you guys later.